Okay, everybody. Oh man, I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm just gonna start over, and I'll edit this video after we're done, and I'll cut off the first. What do we got? We got to cut off the first 12 minutes. Hey, Kevin and you guys, thanks for Jim. Thanks for hitting me up. Give me a 5x5 if you're still on here. Let me know that you can hear me now. But I'm gonna go back. Oh man, rookie mistake there. That's what happens when you're live, when it's live on the internet, right? My mistake. So, if you're still there, give me a 5x5 or let me know that the audio is coming through. I should have looked at your text messages earlier or your chat. But thanks for filling me out. I'll just get going again. I think the audio is probably working now. I turned it down earlier because I was doing some other stuff and then I forgot. That's what happens that's when you're an old retired guy like me. That's what happens. All right, so what we're talking about, we're going to go right back to the beginning. So we're looking at in here. We're going to look in this space right here, right? So there's a fire in this building. According to the information I had on the net, it started in the back of this kitchen, right? And so this is a long, deep building. You can see lots of turbulent, thick black smoke coming out down here. What we're going to do is focus on this area of the attic. Some places they call it a cockloft. I'm just going to call it an attic today. Attic up here of this apartment building, and then we're going to check in occasionally on these windows, which right now are clear. So let's get it going. And so here we go. Let's see, can we make it so it's not too choppy? Yeah, there we go. All right, so the windows are clear, low volume, right? Pretty laminar, even though it's got enough velocity to get out around the cracks and seams. There's not much going on here, and we're mostly in the grayscale. Might be a little brown there right now, but mostly in the grayscale, which means that wood, right? So what we have in this attic is a lot of unfinished lumber, right, that supports both the roof, the ceiling joists for the top floor apartment, and the roof joists for the flat roof. And the space in there, okay, thanks Kevin, you can hear me now. Thanks for, talking to myself for the first 12 minutes. All right, so if we look at the building construction, right, from the top of these windows to the roof is pretty significant. And probably the roof joists are landing right where this crack is, right? So it's probably just a typical 8-foot ceiling in there. So that means we have a 3 to 4 foot cockloft that goes along this entire space. And we can see the windows right now are clear. Earlier in the video, you can have a little bit better look at those windows. You can go back and check that out. But right now, there's nothing coming out of this section really. Right, it's mostly coming out here and really right along, sort of sideways out of the seam between the brick and whatever this other siding is. Maybe concrete, don't know for sure, but it's coming sideways out of there. And it's low volume, pretty laminar, thin, and on the white end of the grayscale. And we're going to constantly see from the back here different colors, turbulent thick black smoke, some white like we got going here. I'm sure there's a firefight going on over there, right? So let's go forward 5 minutes. I'll grab a glass of water. And okay, so brown, right, in that 5 minute time, 5 minutes, significant increase. So it's a long time, right? So if we're talking about rate of change, which in the reading smoke program we're talking about, is it seconds or minutes? We're talking this is minutes and even multiple minutes, roughly 5 minutes, right? So significant difference here versus, let's go back, right? I mean, really stark change in this first 5 minute block. Still really just a little bit maybe from this section. These windows still look clear to me, right? So it's getting worse. And so what's going to happen to the smoke in here is we're going to go from that white end of the grayscale, we're solidly in the browns now. So as that wood gets heated, right, the water vapor comes out first, that's the steam, then we're going to go through brown. Eventually it's going to be black. We're going to rotate as it gets hot enough. The unfinished lumber in there starts to produce black rather than brown, right? So we're solidly in the brown. Pretty significant volume, a really big increase in turbulence here, right? So turbulence and density are up and the color has changed. And so over the course of this 5 minutes, things continue. They're just getting worse, right? We're going to go to the next section and try to get smooth video, right? So again, still about the same volume and velocity over that time. The color is starting to get darker, right? So that is we're getting more and more density, and the change. It's not solid brown; it's in the brown black, and now we're starting to get. You can see we're starting to get smoke out of this other section. Plus, look, the windows have smoke in them now, right? And so all these indicators, the problem's getting worse. Regardless of how the firefight is going on the initial section, our VVDC in these other sections is on the continual progress of getting worse and worse and worse, right? So remember that we talked about this a little bit last week. Early in these events, we can have smoke showing velocity and density from remote areas, but they're dependent on the fire, right? That smoke is getting pushed from the initial fire, and if we solve the fire problem, this dependent problem goes away almost instantaneously. And then at some point, these become independent problems to where even if we put this fire out over here, this problem doesn't go away. So there's a transition in there sometimes, or not sometimes, at some time, there's a transition between it being a dependent problem and being an independent problem. And I think this is probably an independent problem at this point, right? Even if they solve the problem in the back of this section, there's still a pretty significant working fire in the structural spaces of the apartment building that's above. Okay, so it's an independent problem at this point, I believe, from my read of the smoke. Another 5 minutes forward, significant. Right now we're almost in the black, and notice right where it comes out, right where it comes out, it's mostly black. Now the water vapor, right, the water vapor condenses relatively quickly, highlighting the brown, but right where it's coming out, it's just, it might be still in brown, but it's super dark, right, and the density's really high, so the heat in here is getting pretty significant. And we'll check this side. Again, pretty significant smoke over here, and then go to the next section, another 5 minutes or so. So now we're 30 minutes in. Now again, turbulent thick black smoke back here, and really off the chart as far as our VVDC here. I mean, significant increases, totally in the black gray scale. There's no brown at all in here anymore. It's all coming out black, and then condensation's taken over, right? So significant velocity coming out the side of that place, and here, and the windows still smoked up there, right? So over the course of time, same thing is happening. Now we do get a little bit of change here where it appears they're getting water on it, but notice that even with the change in color, it's black where it comes out. It changes to white a little quicker, meaning that there's probably more water vapor in it, but the velocity is just going to continue. And like we looked at last week, where the velocity stays the same or goes up, you still have a problem. So even though there's water getting in here, they still have this velocity. I mean, look at this turbulent thick black smoke sort of coming up through the middle where these crews created their ventilation opening, and the ventilation opening didn't really solve these problems. Now we're starting to see actually a little bit of flame over here too, right? So over the course of this 35 minutes, things have just progressively gotten worse. There's some photos online if you go find this incident, the links in the show notes, where later they're doing defensive operations through this window. This window's broken out. They're doing some defensive stuff. So there is a change at some point. And then I wanted to just show you some of the other things that we've looked at. Oh, there's you got a picture of my grandson there. Some of the stuff that we've looked at in previous weeks. Right, we're going to switch videos here. previous week. So look at this, turbulent, thick. I mean, lots of turbulent, thick black smoke coming from the unfinished lumber in the attic space of this place right here. This is we looked at this one maybe a month and a half ago, but that color, right, and the density here, really off the chart in comparison to what we just saw. And this is a much smaller space, right? So since it's a smaller space, significant working fire. In here, the temperature in this space just probably went right through brown and straight to black, right? So the brown in the modern environment, you're just not seeing brown smoke as much because the temperatures go up quickly. And so one of the reasons we have it in the video, the main video we looked at this week, is because those spaces are big, right? They're big spaces and they're relatively remote from the initial problem. And so the heat is going up much more slowly, giving us an opportunity to see that brown. And here, I have another one I'm going to pop up here real quick. This is from about 6 months ago. We looked at this video. And same thing here, right? Just black, and this is a really good indication of that the effect that condensation of the water vapor has. Notice this cold here, so the water vapor condensing super quickly. But you notice right where it's coming out of the roof, man, it is black as night. And one of the firefighters in class I did down in Tulare, California, was telling me, hey, his captain had talked to him about he just calls that a river of gasoline. I think the thing about the damage that's being done to the rafters and stuff in this space, right? So those are the things we're looking at. I'm going to get back to this our original video that we were talking about today. As we close out, let me get back to where I can see the chat again. All right, so it looks like we're good to go. This is right up front, significant fire, lots of turbulent, thick black smoke coming out the back side of this, right? So a significant fire right off the bat. I think these rigs are, if they're they might be part of the first alarm. My guess would be that they're either the last units on the first alarm or possibly even the first units on the second alarm, right? So a significant firefight, the time, and I'm just bringing that up for the time element, right? When this video starts, we're probably, I would guess you got to be somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes in. And as we watch this thing over the course of roughly another 30 minutes, right? So we're talking about 45 minutes to an hour that they're involved in this firefight. And things just don't really get better at all during that time. Let's see, they're doing some forcible entry there. Let's get back to the smoke. Here we go, right? So, hey, thanks you guys for tuning in, and I appreciate your patience. I'll edit the video down, get rid of that first 12 minutes or so. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week here at YouTube for Reading Smoke with Phil Jose. And with that, hey man, I'm Phil Jose, and I'm out. Thanks, everybody.